Welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Joyce. And Joyce, we made it. It's the Oscar predictions. We're making it. The show is Sunday. We're recording this on Wednesday. Winner predictions. This is it. I'm so excited. We finally did it. The voting is closed. We've already seen a raft of offensive anonymous ballots, which we'll talk about throughout here. Incredible. Unhinged, I would say. A lot of great stuff to talk about, but we're going to go through our predictions and we're going to do this just like the show, Joyce. So obviously, if you're watching this or listening, you know that the Oscars in their infinite wisdom have punted 8 categories into the pre-show ceremony. So we're going to do our predictions for those 8 first before we get to the main events, I guess.
Yeah, we literally came up with this like 5 minutes ago.
It's a great idea. So we'll start with live action short, Joyce. The nominees were The Dress, The Long Goodbye, On My Mind, Please Hold, and a la Kachu, Take and Run. I'm going with The Dress.
Oh, interesting.
Going with a little bit of an upset.
Yeah, I prefer The Dress out of these 5, but I don't know if I could go out on a limb for it. I feel like none of them really fit like a typical winner in this category, and I know people are banking on like the star power of Riz Ahmed as well in The Long Goodbye, but they've proven, I think that's kind of like hit or miss, because like last year we had like Oscar Isaac, and like that didn't win. But I'm actually going The Long Goodbye here.
Wow.
Having said all that, I just don't know if any, I guess like that has like the fewest deficiencies, I guess, or like it fits more with what they usually go for, and I have a la Kachu in second.
Nice. I went with The Dress just because like I think it's like of these, it's like the most accessible, I would say, maybe. Right? I mean, I don't know. And I'm just worried. There's a world where you're right, Long Goodbye wins because like Riz Ahmed's a famous person, and obviously it could be like a nice name check. And as we've seen, even from some of those anonymous ballots that I referenced, one of the guys just straight up abstained from voting on these, truly did not even watch the shorts, apparently.
I mean, I respect that if you feel you're, not qualified to vote on this. I respect that, yeah.
But I wonder if people who also, maybe some people just be like, Riz Ahmed, I like him. We had him last year as a nominee, but we'll see. So Long Goodbye is definitely the favorite here. But there you go for documentary, and this we're gonna give this. I mean, if this is on the Oscars, we'd already be way too much time on live action short. I feel like they will.
Well, we
cook through this.
Like tweeted like our
right.
They're tweeting the winners too.
Right. I should just hold up a tweet.
Yeah.
I should like Photoshop a Kyle Buchanan tweet of like the winner of best live action short.
Yeah.
And hold it up.
Yeah. We already screwed up. So anyway.
Best documentary short, Joyce. The nominations were Audible, Lead Me Home, The Queen of Basketball, 3 Songs for Benazir, and When We Were Bullies. And I'm going with The Queen of Basketball.
Same. I actually like of the 3 shorts categories, this one is my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
I think these films are the best ones out of all of them. And yeah, I'm going with Queen of Basketball. I think that's like not only accessible, but like the story is interesting, and she as a subject, Lucy Harris, is super charming and interesting, and she just draws you in even if you know absolutely nothing about basketball.
Yeah, totally agree. Animated short, Joyce. The nominees are The Affairs of the Art, Bestia, Box Ballet, Robin Robin, and The Windshield Wiper. This one is tough. I'm going with Robin Robin. It's like the most basic one, so I'm sticking with it. But I could see Windshield Wiper and maybe even Box Ballet getting in. I don't know, but I'm going with Robin Robin.
This is like the most like adult lineup animated shorts we've maybe had ever. Not the most child friendly lineup. I like Bestia a lot, and like that's like clay is, I don't even know, it's like stop motion, like clay
claymation,
and also like based on the true story, which is wild. But I don't know if that can win. I feel like if it's just like animators voting, it would win, but with the entire Academy voting, we've seen historically they like cutesy stuff like animals or like kids.
So
I too have Robin.
right. I don't
Even
think
though that's long. I think that's the longest one here.
it is. I think it's also on Netflix, right?
Yeah.
And so that I feel like is another added feather in its cap here for both accessibility and cutesiness. Because Bestia, I think I would have a hard time imagining some of these voters making it through it. Bestia.
Yeah. I think it's the best one out of them,
Yeah.
but I don't know, man.
I don't know. I don't think so. But I mean, I guess it could win. So
I
you
think
went
I put it in second just because I wanted to win, but I don't like that would be cool if it won, but
right.
Yeah.
All right. So you went pretty favorite heavy on those. And I did too, except for the dress, which I just am like taking a stab at the shot in the dark at, because I always kind of mess up on the short. So I was like, I'm just gonna try to mess up less. I don't know.
I mean, if I get like 2 out of 3 of these right, I'm happy.
Right. And
like
you'll probably that'll
2
help.
out of 3 and I was happy.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Into the other more pre-show categories. Best score, Joyce. What a throwaway category, obviously. No. Don't Look Up, Dune, Encanto, Parallel Mothers, and The Power of the Dog. All respect to Nicholas Bertel, but I got Dune and Hans Zimmer winning.
But at least Bertel informed us yesterday, Tuesday, that Succession season 3 soundtrack is coming out next month, April 29th. So that's a win.
I literally think about that maybe once a week. Where is the Succession season 3 soundtrack and score? And now we know when it's coming. So that's great.
Yeah. So I'll take that this week. If he can't win an Oscar, but yeah, I have Dune.
Great. So good score. Hans Zimmer, second Oscar. Love it. I guess if there's an upset here that we find in the pre-show that like Power of the Dog wins, I'd say that portends very well to its best picture chances, but I'm not expecting an upset.
Yeah, that would be nice, because I really do like the Power of the Dog score in its simplicity and how like economical it is. And also, I mean, it's not nominated here, but Johnny Greenwood's Spencer score, completely different. So
yeah, I still think I prefer the Spencer score.
Yeah, I could see like Encanto upsetting as well.
Maybe
I'm not predicting it, but
no. Next up in the pre-show, Sound, Belfast, Dune, No Time to Die, The Power of the Dog, and West Side Story, and I have Dune winning.
Same, even though I want West Side Story to win. And as I've always said, if there were still 2 categories, Dune would win sound editing and West Side Story would win sound mixing.
And so I have West Side Story in second. If there's an upset there, I think it's West Side Story, but I guess we'll see. Makeup and hairstyling, like we do not have Jessica Chastain here to watch this ceremony.
Is she out on the red carpet right now?
She's out on the red carpet, out on my front lawn. But if this was the real Oscar, she'd be there watching this category. Makeup and hairstyling, Coming to America, Cruella, Dune, The Eyes of Tammy Faye, and House of Gucci. And I have The Eyes of Tammy Faye winning.
Same. Get Jessica in here so she can see their speech right now.
Best editing, still shocking that this is in the pre-show. What are you going to do, I guess?
And one of the most unpredictable categories.
Don't Look Up, Dune, King Richard, The Power of the Dog, and Tick, Tick, Boom. I literally could make a case for all of these movies winning, to be perfectly honest. I've had King Richard for a long time, but I'm actually going to switch to Tick, Tick, Boom, Joyce. I think it's going to win.
Oh, okay.
I think it's going to pull a Girl with a Dragon Tattoo and win. So the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo was the last time is it the last time? You can correct me, but it was
it's
non-best
the last
picture
time a non-best picture nominee won.
So
and it also, like Tick Tick Boom, would it won over 4 other best picture nominees.
Correct. I just think there's a lot of affection for Tick Tick Boom, and I think a lot of times this category goes to the most editing. And while that would be Don't Look Up, I think the editing in Don't Look Up maybe put off a lot of people. And I think Tick Tick Boom could win here. I really do. I just think if you're watching, it's so well put together. I think having it be a musical actually helps. And there's a lot of scenes you could point to in Tick Tick Boom where you're like, oh, this is like really well, like there's a song later, I forget what it's called, but him and Vanessa Hudgens are doing it when him and his girlfriend Alexandra Shipp are fighting.
Is that
and the way they cross cut back and forth is like incredibly fun and really impressive. And I just think I think it's going to win. I think we're going to get an upset here. I
think that's the song. It's not. The first one that came to mind is Why. I'm like, that's not Why. But yeah, it's like them talking about like their relationship. Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
Therapy is the
that's
song.
the song that yeah, Therapy Session. They that like the editors have like highlighted as part of their campaign.
And as they should. It's a great sequence. So like I said, I think you can make the case for all of these. I would say if I was like, when I'm knocking things off, I was like Power of the Dog and Dune are incredibly slow moving movies. That doesn't mean it's bad editing, but I think if you're just a person who's voting on this, you might be like, that's too slow. I don't, whatever. King Richard, I think actually has, while the tennis scenes are really impressive, I actually think it could fit in with those other three in that it's incredibly long and you kind of feel it. And Don't Look Up, I think, is a little too hectic. And so I was like, Tick, Tick, Boom is hectic enough that it looks like a lot of work was being done, but still feels a lot shorter and like condensed and tight. So I think that's why it's going to win.
Is it also the shortest of these?
It is.
I think it's like exactly 2 hours, right?
It is.
And the others are past 2 hours.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm going with the upset. I'm going Tick, Tick, Boom.
I've seriously thought about all 5 of these in like the past like 10 days. And it's funny how you like immediately dismiss Dune and The Power of the Dog because they're the only ones here with the sound stat that everyone clings to, because no movie since The Departed has won this category without at least a sound nomination. And remember, there used to be 2 sound categories, so it was like also easier to get a sound nomination with 2. Yeah, so there are only 2 with sound here. But yeah, I agree that, I mean, Power Dog, first of all, just complete opposite of what they usually go for here. Just subtle editing. It's great editing, but people think of editing as most editing, or like if you're not an editor, that's what people think of as editing. And yeah, Dune is not like your action movie or like a war movie that has a lot of heavy cuts. And it's also lost like every major editing award so far, and it lost 2 of them to movies that were not even nominated here: No Time to Die and West Side Story. So I can also, I guess you could argue it both ways. It's like, oh, like those 2 movies are not nominated here, so I could still win. But then it's like, but why is it like losing these awards then? If like, is it just gonna be a default winner? I don't know, because it just seems like everyone's just rejecting this movie, right? Like as an editing winner. And I guess you could also say like if like No Time to Die were not nominated at BAFTA, like Dune maybe would have won because it did so well there, and obviously the Brits love their Bond. I don't know, but yeah, I currently have King Richard. I don't feel great about it. I'll probably switch.
I have King Richard. I have King Richard in second, and I think the case you can make there is that it won at the Ace Eddie Awards, and Pamela Martin is a really respected editor and is like a leader in that branch. So I think that helps, but it's obviously the whole Academy is voting. So I don't know. The tennis scenes are really great, but I do think that movie does feel long sometimes.
I mean, it's a long movie. I wouldn't say it like breezed by, but I wasn't bothered by the length of it as I was about like some of these other movies.
Sure.
Not just this lineup, but like the Best Picture lineup. And yeah, like the tennis sequences are really well done. Honestly, like the best part of the movie, like the entire like third act. And yeah, but it's not like super flashy. Like it's a sports movie, but it's not like super like a ton of cuts like Tick, Tick, Boom or Don't Look Up. Don't Look Up. What if it wins like screenplay in this? Like that would be insane.
Well, hold on to that idea when we get to screenplay.
Yeah, so I have also thought about Tick, Tick, Boom, because I think there is a lot of love for that movie. And yeah, I agree with everything you said about the editing of the sequences, the music sequences and the back and forth. It is like very manic, and it's not everyone's cup of tea.
So
but, yeah.
I wanted to go to the anonymous Oscar ballot that the Hollywood Reporter published last night on Wednesday, Tuesday night. This is a offensive throughout, hilariously over the top like takes. But one of the, even I agree with you. I was like, oh, Tick, Tick, Boom is a movie that I think not everybody likes, and it obviously missed in Best Picture. So you might be inclined to say, the Academy did not embrace it as warmly as maybe we would have expected. But here was one of the guys who was like, I mean, like, I won't even read some of this stuff because I think it's so bad. But here it was not the greatest, the guy or gal, whoever it was here, I'm assuming a male, based on their takes.
The lost daughter takes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just like not what you want. But even for the editing, here's what this person said, quote, "The editing in Tick Tick Boom was just extraordinary. It played off the rhythm and energy of the character and his music in the sense that it's frenetic and all over the place in a way that just worked." And while it's just one voter who is hopefully not too super indicative of the Academy at large, and 8,000 people vote for the Oscars, I do think that is a sentiment that I could see carrying through a lot. And I think it's the one movie here that actually stands out apart from the other four, because it does feel different. The other, I think, even Don't Look Up, while it is very manic, has a lot of the same.
I mean, it's an Adam McKay movie.
Yeah, it just feels like, I guess all four of the other nominees, I feel like you feel the length at some point. And Tick Tick Boom, I don't think you feel. If you don't like Tick Tick Boom, you're going to say it's awful and the whole thing feels like a 50-hour movie. But I think I liked all 4 or 5 of these movies, and all of them felt long except Tick Tick Boom. And I don't think that's a demerit for the
also
other
because
ones.
it's like literally the shortest.
It's literally the shortest, and it feels even shorter than it is. So that was my thinking. Again, I don't know how people vote for this stuff, and they might just be like, do I like Dune? So I'm going to put Dune down or whatever, But
I do feel like Dune is the default, right?
Right.
But I don't know if it's going to win all 6 below the line categories it's being predicted for.
I don't think it is.
Yeah, and I guess if this category is as divisive as it seems, since we've gotten like different winners so far, and like maybe there's not a ton of passion for any one of them, and then it wouldn't take a lot for Tick Tick Boom to win either.
And I can see Tick Tick Boom being a passion pick, because again, and we talked about this with like, I don't know, with like Coda at BAFTA, one adapted screenplay. My take is, I don't know. I think if people are really excited about one of the movies and they only have one spot to vote for that movie, and this is not I think they would, if you were a super fan of Tick Tick Boom, and let's say you had it like high on your ballot and it ended up not making it in for Best Picture.
This Tick Tick Boom was this guy's favorite film.
So it's like, this guy's favorite film is Tick Tick Boom. He only has one place to vote for it for the film.
No, he voted for Andrew as well.
Right. Beyond the performance. So I'm like, you could see a world where people who really were excited about Tick Tick Boom, which we all figured was like maybe 11th or 12th in the Best Picture nominations, they'll vote for it here because that they don't have an opportunity to vote for it elsewhere. And all these other movies, in theory, you would say like have an opportunity to win elsewhere. So,
and it does,
that's the other
have
reason.
a guild when it won Ace in comedy, even though it's not a comedy.
And with regard to the sound thing, like you were saying earlier,
it would have gotten a sound mixing. I'm giving it a phantom sound mixing nomination.
Correct.
Like
right. It would have gotten that nomination.
West Side Story should be here as well.
Right.
It should be winning this.
So you don't have to change. I mean, obviously we don't have.
No, I mean, I've thought about this myself. I don't know. Should I switch to Tick Tick Boom now? I don't know.
Yeah, do it. I think it's gonna win. I think this is a sharp play. I really do. I think it's a good bet because this is a toss-up category.
I've literally like thought about changing to all of them, like for real, except Don't Look Up. Like I've thought about Don't Look Up, but not like legitimately as a winner.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, who would have thought Tick Tick Boom could be the next Girl with the Dragon Tattoo?
We spent about 10 minutes on this amazing category that they will give away in a tweet. Just awesome.
Yeah, and then they'll show like 30 seconds of the acceptance speech.
Incredible stuff. Moving on, Joyce, another pre-show delight. Production design. The nominees were Dune, Nightmare Alley, Power of the Dog, Tragedy of Macbeth, and West Side Story. This is another really tough category. I have Dune winning, but I don't feel great about it. And I kind of want to switch to West Side Story, but I don't know.
I mean, I won West Side Story to win and pull a Lincoln.
So I think Dune is going to win a lot. And I think the sound stuff will be really great. And obviously, like, there's a case made for the production design for this and for Nightmare Alley. But I just wonder if West Side Story could sneak it out here. I don't know.
I actually have Nightmare Alley in first.
Okay, you went to Nightmare. I had Nightmare Alley for months, and I switched to Dune. Now you are Nightmare Alley. Okay.
I had Nightmare Alley for like a day after I saw it in December, and then I like went to West Side Story. Yeah, like again, back to like, is Dune gonna win like all 6 of these crafts? I don't know. I think the safest play is for you to predict Dune in all 6 and just take the hit wherever it comes, so you're covered anyway, instead of trying to guess which category it's gonna lose. I mean, it's also interesting for it to if it wins like all 6, to do it without a directing nomination, you know, because usually like these like craft heavy films like has directing nomination, like Mad Max, and Gravity won 7 including director, and that was also a movie that did not win or like underperformed in editing like in the lead up, but it still won editing anyway because it was just like the biggest player, you know, and the directing winner that year. So yeah, and I can see Dune winning by default as well, and just because I think the world it has to build is so vast and large, but also a lot of it is like outdoors, like sandstorms, whereas like, you know, Nightmare Alley and like West Side Story and like, yeah, the other 4, Power of the Dog, Tragedy, Macbeth, like it's a lot more interior or like practical sets as well, like more of them really, and it feels a lot more real and tactile. So I don't know if that's a factor. I think if they go for like scale, then Dune will win. But like so Dune won ADG in fantasy, and Nightmare Alley won ADG in period. I would feel better about West Side Story if it won ADG in period. It should have won ADG in period. So I wanted to pull the upset though, just like Lincoln did.
That was the reason. Really, the only reason I was almost going to pick West Side Story is because Lincoln did it and won an acting award and a production design award. And I feel like obviously West Side Story is going to win an acting award, so perhaps it wins the production design award as well. But I don't know. I think this is a place where Dune could just get name checked in. I don't know why I think that, but
yeah, I think that's definitely the safest choice. So I don't know if I'm gonna, especially now that I also am still not predicting Dune in editing.
Right.
But yeah, like I could just see like Nightmare Alley taking, because like Cate Blanchett's Office alone.
Hey, I've had Nightmare Alley in there for months. I only switched actually after I didn't win a BAFTA here. And that was when I kind of gave up the ghost, I feel like. So
yeah, I don't know. So I'll stick with Nightmare Alley for now. So I guess I don't have Dune winning 6 for now.
No, I don't either. I don't think Dune will win 6. I think that's a little hard to. I think it'll win. I don't think it'll win 6. I have it winning, like we said. I have it winning visual effects. We didn't do that yet, but spoiler alert: visual effects, sound, score, and production design. Those are my victories for Dune. I guess we'll see. All right, so that was it. I think that's the 8, right? The shorts 1, 2, 3, sound 4, score 5, production design 6, makeup and hair 7, and sound and editing 8. So congratulations to those.
Yeah,
we did those in the pre-show. So now let's go through and do the rest of the categories for the main event, Joyce. This is where the show will pick up with a great opening segment, I'm sure, from Amy Schumer and Wanda Sykes and Regina Hall, who all have been giving away, whose every interview I've read with all 3 of them. We'll talk about this at the end of the show. We'll go through the show a little bit, but just as
really great tidbits.
Some really great tidbits. And also they all seem so enthused. And I'm saying that dripping with sarcasm because all of them seem like they're just like, hey, I don't know. Hopefully it works. Blame the other person. Talk to the producers. That's a lot of that. Anyway, best international film, Joyce. The nominees here were Luana, A Yak in the Classroom, Flee, The Hand of God, Drive My Car, and The Worst Person in the World. And I have Drive My Car winning.
Same.
Not much to say about this category. Drive My Car is nominated for Best Picture. It seems likely it will win Best International Film.
And Best Director.
And Best Director and Best Adapted Screenplay. It's got a ton of nominations. And there you go. For Best Documentary Feature, Joyce, nominees are Ascension, Attica, Flee, Summer of Soul, and Writing with Fire. And while this category often features an upset, I'm sticking with Summer of Soul, and I think it will win.
Yeah, it already cleared its biggest hurdle, which is getting nominated, because they tend to snub like the populist pig, the one, the archival footage, and it cleared that hurdle. So congratulations to Questlove.
Mm-hmm. I think that'll be really cool. It'll be a fun moment. And the movie's great. And interesting that they both, it's interesting that perhaps both documentary feature and best film, best picture could be movies that premiered at the Sundance Film Festival in 2020, which I think is could possibly happen because Coda obviously premiered same year as Summer of Soul. That
2021.
21. You got it. It's time is relative. What year is it? Animated feature, Joyce, we're up to next. The nominees were Encanto, Flee, Luca, The Mitchells versus the Machines, and Raya and the Last Dragon. I've been back and forth on this one. Phil Lord and Chris Miller have just exploded social media with Mitchells
all of their friends supporting this.
Everyone supporting Mitchells versus the Machines on social media. If it wins, if it was an Oscars fan favorite voting for Mitchell best animated feature, I think Mitchells versus the Machines would win. But since it's not hashtag fan favorite here, I'm going with Encanto. I think it's going to pull it out.
Okay, so you've cleared your head on this category because you were very torn on Friday.
It was. I just think it's like I could really make a case for Mitchells versus Machines. It is really creative
I really
and
like
fun.
the movie. It's
and
really
I actually think
yeah.
it's a better. I actually think it's a better movie than Encanto. Encanto obviously has
when
the
does
songs.
that ever matter?
It doesn't.
Not
really
just
matter.
in this category, but just in general.
In general, it doesn't either. So that was why I went with Encanto. I like all of these movies, like we've said, but I think Encanto is going to win.
Yeah, I have Encanto. That's the one that just hit the biggest.
That's it. Every voter who has a kid or anybody who knows a kid has been seen Encanto multiple times in the last 2 months. And Mitchells vs. Machines is an older movie that they probably have already moved on from, unfortunately.
And like I said to you in our column, like Mitchell's, as great as it is, it just feels like another Klaus. Remember when people were predicting Klaus 2 years ago? And that actually won the BAFTA, and Encanto won the BAFTA here. So yeah, I don't think like it's funny how like they in like this category they still lean like super broad and populist. It's just like name checking like Disney or Pixar. And then unless there's something like a Spider-Verse, which is still like IP, obviously.
Right.
But yeah, like Encanto would be, a big win, even though it's Disney behind it, but it's not part of a franchise like Toy Story. It's an original story, it's not IP like Spider-Man. So.
Yeah. Joyce, before we move on from here, best Olivia Colman performance this last year.
Oh my God, Mitchells versus Machines.
It's incredible, right? She was amazing in Mitchells versus Machines, and FYC for her best actress per cap.
They need to add a category for voiceover.
Add a voice category and have Olivia Colman win for her incredible work in Mitchells versus Machines.
And she also, so I talked to the director and the writer director of Mitchells, and yeah, he said like they had reached out to Olivia to voice Pal before she won the Oscar for the favorite, and then he just assumed that after she won she would like back out, and she's like no, I still want to do it.
That's awesome. She rules. Best visual effects choice. The nominees are Dune, Free Guy, No Time to Die, Shang-Chi, Legend of the Ten Rings, and Spider-Man No Way Home. And here I have Dune winning.
Yes, but Shang-Chi should win for Morris.
I think Spider-Man should win for everything, but I could see Morris winning. I didn't like the Shang-Chi effects at the end. Morris is great.
I didn't like the dragons. The
dragons are really, they just don't look great.
Yeah, but Morris is the best part of them.
Morris is great, and it looks like real, but tough beat on the dragons. So Dune winning there. Congratulations to Dune. Let's see. Next, we did best sound, best song, Joyce. So that 4 of these 5 nominees will be performing on the show, which is so exciting. We'll talk about this at the end as well. But the nominees are Be Alive from King Richard, Dos Orguitas from Encanto, Down to Joy from Belfast, No Time to Die from No Time to Die, and Somehow You Do from 4 Good Days. Really tough category. I don't know. I'm actually torn because, like you said, the best song.
You've been on the Encanto boat.
I've been on the Encanto, and I'm going to stick with it. But wow. I'm going to stick with it. But I think No Time to Die is going to win. Everybody assumes No Time to Die is going to win. It feels like it definitely is just like, well, obviously, like it just feels like people are just shrugging and like No Time to Die. The song is not great. The problem is it's the wrong Encanto. It's not the right Encanto song to beat it, probably. Because the Encanto song is not super memorable either. I don't know. I'm sticking with Encanto. Right. I'm sticking with Encanto. I don't know. I just feel like, again, the recency. I wonder how much of this is recency bias. Now, Billie Eilish and her brother Phineas have done a ton of press for No Time to Die, and we're all over the place and won every single precursor, it seems. But at the same time, has anybody actually thought of that song in like 3 months?
Well, and the song is 2 years old.
And in Encanto,
I still haven't heard it, as you know.
And in Encanto, at the very least, a lot of the voters, especially if they have kids in any capacity or no kids in their life, have heard that song just walking around at least once or twice in the last like 2 weeks, especially when they were voting, because it's either been on in the background They're
You're talking
heard on.
about Bruno.
No, I think even in Encanto, because people just listen to the whole sound. My guess is people just listen to the whole soundtrack, not just Bruno. And I think that'll help it too. So I'm sticking with Encanto, but I don't know if it's going to win. I think I can see, obviously, No Time to Die has the writings on the wall is a worse song than No Time to Die, and still won.
Also a
Sam
song
Smith.
I've heard it since it was performed on the Oscars, but I have I cannot even hum the tune to you.
So it's like a totally forgetful, and it won basically because
I guess Bond songs just win now because of
Bond
Adele.
songs. It feels like Bond songs just win now, and then No Time to Die would do that. So, and I think so. There's obviously a reason. I could see it either way. I don't know. I'm sticking with Encanto. I'm just going to go down with the ship. I think why not?
Yeah, I have No Time to Die. I just feel like everyone's being lazy here, and like, yes, it's the wrong Encanto song nominated, but again, they had no idea Bruno would blow up like this because the deadline for submissions was November 1st. So it wasn't like they submitted Dos Oruguitas on January 1st.
Right.
And even I
don't blame them, but
I don't blame them because this is like this like Dos Oruguitas is like the emotional ballad from the films, just in general, like, and then those were like the hits, right? And a little moment in the movie, and we don't talk about Bruno. This is like elaborate cast number, like with like it's like 7 people. I don't even know, but it's it's fun, and it turned into this whole thing. I think they, like, we've talked about it before, how like Disney has been spooked and they don't want to submit multiple songs. You can submit 2. They just didn't. They just submitted 1. So yeah, so this is the one that's nominated. So I think if it does win, it would just speak to Encanto's popularity. I don't even think like people are thinking about completing Lin-Manuel Miranda's EGOT or anything.
No.
But like I think like they obviously know like he wrote this song, like, or all the songs for the movie. But I think they've just been kind of lazy with like even like the regional critics awards. Like it's like just giving it to No Time to Die, and this is for like months now from the winter on, and we've also talked about how they've also been lazy nominating Dos Oruguitas over We Don't Talk About Bruno, when they could do whatever they want and nominate Bruno and award that too.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's between these two. I don't think any of the other.
So I think it's between these two too, and even I think you could make the case that honestly, like, maybe Be Alive or Down to Joy could surprise just because they're from Best Picture nominees that people really like, in theory. But I don't think that's going to pan out. Like last year, obviously, her won, right? For her
won, but I think that that's because it was Best Picture adjacent. Like it was a
correct. And so you could argue that
obviously Team Husavik.
Right. And you could argue that those 2 movies are the Best Picture adjacent picks there. Obviously they are. They're the only 2 Best Picture nominees, King Richard and Belfast. So if there's an upset, perhaps it's there. But I do think because it's a Bond thing, I think the Bond outweighs everything else. And I think that makes it the favorite. And then if you're looking for a runner-up or a potential upset, you go with the Disney one because that's a bigger brand than any of the Best Picture adjacency. So
yeah. And also like, it's Billie Eilish. Like everyone knows who she is.
Correct.
And also like her, like last year, she was the biggest name there. No offense to like Leslie Odom Jr., but like she's like an industry favorite, multiple Grammys. And yeah, Judas was a Best Picture nominee. And I mean, Trial was nominated, but no one knew that song at all.
Good song though. Still like that song.
Daniel Pemberton.
Yeah, love him. Joyce, costume design. They're giving out this one on the show so they could get a Cruella plug for ABC's own Disney Plus. Mm-hmm. Cruella, Cyrano, Dune, Nightmare Alley, and West Side Story. And I have Cruella winning.
Yes, congratulations to Disney.
Cool costumes, very just straight up cool. I don't know. All these I actually think everyone in this category is awesome. Joyce, I interviewed the Cyrano costume designers, and they like hand did every single thing. It's like really cool for like all the military uniforms, and like just a lot of like craftsmanship in there. I don't have it winning, obviously, but just a plug for them. They did a great job. Still love Cyrano.
Still made it out as an Oscar nominated movie after.
Still love Cyrano. Somehow an Oscar nominee. It's
season.
a 2021 movie that came out 3 months into 2022. You love to see it.
How many times was it delayed?
5 or 6. It eventually came out in end of February, I believe.
Yeah.
And it's available now on VOD.
They bought a lot of ads during the Olympics. A lot of prime time Olympics coverage was sponsored by Cyrano, so I saw a lot of Cyrano ads.
Next up, Joyce, another kind of really competitive category, best cinematography. The nominees are Dune, Nightmare Alley, The Power of the Dog, Tragedy of Macbeth, and West Side Story. And I have Power of the Dog and Ari Wegner winning here. I think I've been like on that for a while. Greg Fraser's work in Dune is amazing. I love it so much. I think he could actually win here next year or this year for the Batman, or next year for the Batman. It's awesome. But no, I have Ari Wegner for Power of the Dog. I think that is a movie that you watch and you say, great cinematography. And I think Dune, I still wonder if there's a bias on science fiction. I guess we'll find out. Or obviously like Blade Runner 1, so maybe not. But I just wonder how much, I don't know. It just feels like maybe that's a little bit of a bias, that it could be like, it's how much is the visual effects versus how much is what Greg Fraser's doing. So I'm going to stick with Power of the Dog, even though there is a lot of visual effects in Power of the Dog, as we've seen. They're very subtle though. So I'm sticking with Power of the
Dog. I would love Power of the Dog to win. And Ari would obviously be the first female winner of this category. Only the second woman to be nominated here. I wish she had have won ASC though over the weekend. Dune won that. So I still have Dune here. I think of Power of the Dog's crafts, this is its best chance to win a craft category.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I could still see her winning. And ASC doesn't have the best track record lineup with the Oscars, but usually they kind of go with something like, they go with like Cold War, you know?
Right.
And last year, like Mank won ASC and it was still seen as an upset because everyone was like, oh no, Nomadland will win the Oscar, but Mank ended up winning the Oscar anyway. But that was also black and white.
Right. So the other thing I wonder, and I do wonder if there's a rooting interest in Ari, because while I think maybe people were like, oh, should Netflix be hitting or like cravenly trying to be like, you know, like this is a, you know, it's time kind of narrative for like Ari Wegner to win. I do think of all these nominees, and while I know all of them by name and I'm like a huge fan, I think for casual, perhaps not as connected or caring Oscar voters, Ari Wegner has been very prominently out there. Like, I mean, she's been at every show, I feel like, and they've done a really good job. I think Netflix has done a really good job of like making her contributions to the film very apparent and making her name recognition very apparent. Whereas some like Dune, I know Greg Fraser did it, but I'm like, does everybody know Greg Fraser did it, or is it just like Dune cinematography? You know what I mean? Like
also on the Oscar ballot, like these people's names are not on there. Like
no, I understand, but
names, yeah,
I understand that, but I think if you're like looking at the ballot with just the movies, you still go, oh, Ari Wegner did Power of the Dog. I do feel like they had a good amount of like reach on getting her out there, whereas the other nominees here are more just like the movie and not the person. And so I think if putting a personal face on the cinematography,
well, yeah, because also like only men have won this category, so it's like, right. What is their narrative?
Right.
Another
so it's
man
just like
winning.
Another dude versus like Ari Wegner for Power of the Dog. I don't know. I think that little bit could help, especially in a category where you could literally make a case for all 5 of these.
This is a great category, all of these. You know, obviously personally, I would love the Puddle Shot to win.
Correct.
For West Side Story. I don't think.
And I think it's because it's going to be really close. I think will be very competitive. If they ever showed the votes, you probably have not much spread between 1 and 5. You know, I don't think it's going to be like a blowout by any means. So I do think that having the little bit of personal touch by having Ari Wegner be so forward in the last like month will help push her over the top. I guess we'll see. If Dune won, I'd be thrilled. I think the cinematography is awesome. Same with West Side Story and Nightmare Alley and Tragedy of Macbeth. So, but I'm gonna go Power of the Dog.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to go off of Dune for 3 categories.
I mean, I have Dune winning 1, 2, 4 of its victories. I have visual effects, sound, score, and
because I think I have him winning 4 now. And
production design.
Yeah, because this one, because I have Nightmare Alley and production So
I think 4 is a good amount. I think
yeah,
that'll
I
be
have
actually
4. I just have a different 4.
different 4. So I guess we'll see. I don't think it's going to win all 6, and I think 4 feels realistic based
I
on
know, it's just like, if you're not going to predict all 6, like what combo are you going with?
right.
So
And I guess we'll see. This could be like where I get tripped up and like lose all of these, and it ends up with 4, not the right 4.
again,
but,
the safest thing to do is just predict Dune in all 6.
yeah, but I don't want to be safe. I want to be. I want to win.
I get that.
Joyce, next up, original screenplay. This is a great category. The nominees are Belfast, Don't Look Up, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, and The Worst Person in the World. And I have Don't Look Up winning Best Original Screenplay.
I am seriously about to switch to Don't Look Up.
So I'll give you my take for why. And so Worst Person in the World, King Richard, congratulations on the nomination. I don't think they're in play to win. So then you now knocked off those 2. Licorice Pizza, the Academy seemingly rejected broadly. And while it won at the BAFTA Awards, it lost at WGA, which is maybe not the best predictor, but I still think it should have won if it was going to win.
It should have won WGA.
And so I think that kind of like really hurt its candidacy here. So then you're left with Belfast and Don't Look Up. The conventional pick would then be Belfast, because as we've seen all week, Focus Features has been really excited about pretending that Belfast is the third, it's a contender to win Best Picture. And obviously, you know, a strong player, Kenneth Branagh, would be a nice narrative to win. Never won before. It won at the Critics' Choice Awards. So that's like a precursor. And as the Critics' Choice are fond of saying, they're the best predictor of Oscars. It feels like the basic winner that you would get. But Hollywood really, really like Don't Look Up. Adam McKay won here, won already in the screenplay category for Big Short, and
he can complete the screenplay twofer.
I think it's going to win. I think it is an important movie that they are going to be excited to, you know, put their weight behind. And yeah, I think Don't Look Up is going to win. I think that would be a classic. It feels like that would be we'll be watching it on Sunday night and be like, of course, Don't Look Up won, because like what else would win here? I don't know. That's my big takeaway. Belfast, I feel like would have won. If Belfast was going to win, it needed a bigger international push. And like that it lost at BAFTA means to me it doesn't have that. So yeah, Don't Look Up was a big success on the BAFTA long list. We joked how it did so well. Yeah, I think Don't Look Up is going to win.
Yeah, Licorice Pizza should have taken WGA. Like Belfast was ineligible there. So PTA has also never won, obviously, an Oscar. He has 11 total nominations now, because it's 3 this year. Also never won a WGA award. So he kind of needed that to buffer his candidacy, because then he'll have BAFTA and WGA as, you know, like the 2 biggest industry awards. And the last time a WG winner lost to, how do I phrase this properly? So the last time a WGA winner in original lost to a fellow WGA and Oscar nominee, or a fellow WGA nominee at the Oscars, was You Can Count on Me. And that was 21 years ago. It lost to Almost Famous. So You Can Count on Me won WGA, and then Almost Famous won the Oscar, and they were nominated at both. And as we know, there are always a ton of ineligibilities at WGA. So yeah, you have like quirky stuff, like you don't face the same competition at both, and that's why this one here, but it was never going to win at the Oscars, you know. And then you had like 3 years ago when 8th grade, Oscar snubbed 8th grade, great win for Bo Burnham. He won WGA over the eventual Oscar winner, Green Book, you know. So that's not the situation here. So
no, because
yeah,
I think if it was, Licorice Pizza would have won at WGA.
And then also, even if like Belfast were eligible at WGA, I don't think it would have won.
Same.
So, and yeah, like you said, the industry likes Adam McKay, and I think, you know, the Don't Look Up is very divisive, obviously, among film Twitter, and I think people are kind of letting their hatred of the movie kind of cloud their judgment as well.
So you sent me a thing yesterday. I forget the guy's name who does the YouTube, the Best Picture thing with the the
Oh
preferential
yeah,
ballot.
Ryan Castleman, he does them every year. Like he does the preferential ballot for Best Picture every year. Yeah.
And so he had SAG voters, or he had actual ballots that he was like using, and he like did the preferential ballot to pick the winner, and it ended up being Power of the Dog. But what stood out to me was Don't Look Up actually rated really well and finished in third place. And even in a lot of these anonymous ballots that have been published in the last like 24 hours, while you're right, I think most people on film Twitter, if you ask them to pick the worst Best Picture nominee, they would without hesitation say Don't Look Up. I think in the real world of the Hollywood in industry, it's
the
at
real
least
world of Hollywood.
it's at least middle of the pack, if not like top 5 for a lot of people. It might not be their favorite, but it is definitely like in the middle. It's not as polarizing as I think we maybe had expected.
No, and we even saw that like in December when it hit Netflix. A lot of famous people were tweeting positively about it.
Correct.
And like just this week, we just had Zelensky referencing it.
Yeah, it's not. I don't believe for a second that it's very polarizing among Hollywood.
Yeah.
I think
and
it's
like we
actually
talked before how internationally, just like Licorice Pizza, the response is more positive to both those movies than it is domestically.
Yeah.
And the other thing is it is the most original script.
Yes.
The concept of these.
And I think it's gonna.
Like,
I just think
they award that sometimes.
Yeah. So I think I have it winning. So that's my pick. What do you have then?
I kept Licorice Pizza as my placeholder, but I might just change to Don't Look Up because I think I've mentioned this before, like months ago when the Licorice Pizza was coming out, that I think the Academy at large, like I think PTA has like his fan base, like his cult, and he would probably be a winner by now if it's just like the writers picking winners. But I think as a whole, they're more into his like serious dramas, and they are into like his like more comedic stuff or lighter stuff, and Licorice Pizza is the latter. Like I think if this was Phantom Thread, he would be winning.
Yeah, maybe
he wasn't even nominated for screenplay for Phantom Thread, but he made it into director.
Right.
And yeah, and like that, like both Licorice Pizza and Belfast are similar, and like they're kind of episodic, like no real plot. This kind of like meandering, and then so like imagine if like PTA had done Don't Look Up. Like I want that version of that movie. Like I think he'd be a lock.
Like, I think he needed
high concept,
right,
original, and he's overdue.
And I think what you're saying there is very true too, because if you look at the nominees, and if the top 3 are Belfast, Don't Look Up, and Licorice Pizza, Belfast and Licorice Pizza are very, very similar movies, and they're coming of age stories with like a bunch of supporting characters affecting a young person's life. And Don't Look Up is a totally original concept and idea. And I think if you're a fan of all 3 of these movies, maybe Belfast and Licorice Pizza, while we would laugh at that because I think one is a lot better than the other one, split the vote a little bit, and then like Don't Look Up kind of gets in because Well,
also, did we talk about this last week and how the presence of Worst Person in the World could eat into the more highbrow vote that you would maybe assume Licorice Pizza?
And they're very similar movies, and PTA even has said Worst Person in the World is like his favorite movie. I would not be surprised.
He loves Worst Person in the World.
I think he would
why
probably.
Why isn't Renata Ronspay nominated?
I think he would probably vote for Worst Person in the World in this category over his own script. I bet. So.
Yeah, and also the thing is like both like he and Kenneth Branagh are overdue in their own ways. Like Kenneth Branagh has 8 nominations across 7 categories. PTA now has 11, so they could both go home big losers.
I don't think either one of them right now, and for whatever reason it was not like part of the driver of the narrative. I don't think it's been like get PTA an Oscar, get Kenneth Branagh an Oscar as part of this campaign. So I don't think people are really even thinking of that when they're voting right now, or when they voted. So that's why I think Don't Look Up is going to win.
I might just change it right now, but yeah. And the thing with like Belfast as well, it's like it hasn't won anything, like like the guilds,
right?
So
change to Don't Look Up, and then we'll do adapted screenplay. You're doing that. Nominees for adapted screenplay are Coda, Drive My Car, Dune, The Lost Daughter, and The Power of the Dog. And Joyce, I have Coda winning.
Yeah, same.
So, it won at BAFTA.
Who would have thought? Like
Canary in the coal mine. I would say if you're looking for a reason beyond Coda's strength, Power of the Dog, Lost Daughter, and Drive My Car are all like cineast, a little more esoteric, difficult adaptations. And I think you could have pockets of support for each. Coda is a bigger tent kind of nomination, and it will win over that. And I think Dune gets hurt because it's the first half of a movie, even though it's a good adaptation.
Fair. Yeah.
Right. So the other three, I think, cancel each other out.
Say, like, it's like, wins. Yeah. I think you can argue like Dune is the hardest to adapt.
Yeah.
Actually, I think like Coda is probably like the least adapted in terms of like tweaks and changes, like all these other scripts made from like their source material.
Right. I don't know. I haven't seen the original, so
yeah. I know I haven't seen the original either, but that's just like from what I've read.
Right.
But yeah, like these other ones, just like the things, like I haven't read The Lost Daughter. I've read Power of the Dog. But like Drive My Car, like just like holy crap, just like everything like he did just to make that, it's not like palatable, but I think it's like engaging for a 3-hour Japanese slow burn.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we've talked about like how those three, like Drive My Car, Lost Daughter, and Power of the Dog, could just split the highbrow vote, and Dune is just there, and then Coda just like comes up the middle for the win, which is what I think happened at BAFTA. Like BAFTA, winning at BAFTA for adapted screenplay, it was like,
right,
wow, that was like really the turning point.
Yep.
Because it really, honestly, no offense, it had like no business.
Wait, it had no business.
And as I've said, it never even crossed my mind that it would win that category there.
We talked about it. It had no business winning that, and compared to the other nominees. And before, if you would have told us Saturday morning of the BAFTAs or Sunday morning of the BAFTAs, we would have never guessed Coda.
No, we would have said like if it was winning a screenplay award that night, it would have been
Critics' Choice.
Yeah.
Right. Now we're into the main events, Joyce. The final 6 categories. They will definitely give these out on the show.
They will always give these out on the show. It'll never be part of the 8.
No.
Rejected.
Best
dumped
supporting,
off the show if they continue this.
Best Supporting Actor. The nominees are Kieran Hines for Belfast, Troy Kotzer for Coda, Jesse Plemons, Power of the Dog, J.K. Simmons, Being the Ricardos, and Cody Smith McPhee, Power of the Dog. I have Troy Kotzer for Coda.
Yeah. Remember that time when like it seemed like he was going to be the only win for Coda?
I think he's a runaway favorite here. I don't see any way he could lose, honestly. I think we might get one upset in the acting categories, and I'll give you that when we get to it, but not.
I mean, here. I think everyone just has like Best Actress.
Yeah. So
dog-eared.
So Troy Kotzer wins. Nothing else here really to say. I think.
Yeah, like once he won BAFTA, it was like good night.
Yep.
So.
For Best Supporting Actress, the nominees are Jessie Buckley for The Lost Daughter, Ariana DeBose for West Side Story, Judi Dench for Belfast, Kirsten Dunst for Power of the Dog, and Anjanae Ellis for King Richard. And I have Ariana DeBose winning for West Side Story.
Same.
Do you see any world where she doesn't win?
No.
Would be pretty shocking, honestly.
This is the category or the acting category we've talked about the least.
I have, for this one, I have Anjanae Ellis in second place. I do think if there's an upset, it would be her, but I don't think it's going to happen. So
I don't even know who I have in second. I might still have Kirsten in second. Yeah, I have Kirsten in second. So
for Best Actor Joyce, the nominees are Javier Bardem for Being the Ricardos, Benedict Cumberbatch, Power of the Dog, Andrew Garfield for Tick, Tick, Boom, Will Smith for King Richard, and Denzel Washington for The Tragedy of Macbeth. And I have Will Smith winning his first Oscar.
Yes. Congratulations to Will. Again, like I think he was going to win anyway, but like the BAFTA went on top of everything else.
I think that did it. And I think he's got it. So,
although I'm like, I kind of think like Andrew is 2 and not Benedict.
You think Andrew's what?
2, like in second.
I think he is 2. I thought Benedict Cumberbatch was, but I actually think Andrew is also. And I don't think he's going to win. But
Peter 3. Sorry to Doctor Strange.
Sorry to Doctor Strange. All right, Joyce. Now, the last 3 categories: Best Actress, probably always the most contentious. This year, no different.
Is it going to be last on the show?
It's not going to be last on the show.
Okay.
The nominees are Jessica Chastain for The Eyes of Tammy Faye, Olivia Colman for The Lost Daughter, Penelope Cruz for Parallel Mothers, Nicole Kidman for Being the Ricardos, and Kristen Stewart for Spencer. Joyce, I thought about this for all week, and I have Kristen Stewart winning for Spencer.
We didn't even like talk about her last week.
So
Or like in her, you were like on like Penelope last week.
so I was on Penelope last week and I was thinking about it this morning. They're all solid performances, and Jessica Chastain is really good in Eyes of Tammy Faye. The movie is incredibly mediocre, and she's the best part of the movie. And she's won all the precursors, and
Well, not all of them.
a lot of the televised ones, and not BAFTA, obviously, because she wasn't nominated. Nobody was from this group. And the conventional wisdom is that she's just going to win, and like she deserves an Oscar, obviously, and all these different things. I don't know if this passion is there, and in a tight race, I wonder if Kristen Stewart wins. I know the industry did not like Spencer. It's a very polarizing movie. That said, of all these nominees outside of Jessica Chastain, Kristen Stewart is the only other person without an Oscar, and B, has done as much, if not more, campaigning than Jessica.
She has been everywhere.
The fact that she got into me at all means there was a ton of passion for her performance, right? Like we didn't expect her even to get nominated. So she got in because the supporters and her fans in the Academy loved her enough to get her in, because she really shouldn't have gotten in based on like all the tea leaves that we had going into the nominations. She missed it SAG, wasn't nominated at BAFTA, all these different things. And so I don't know. I think the passion is going to be there. And I just don't think there's enough passion for Jessica's performance. I don't know. It's a great performance. If she won, I wouldn't be surprised. The only other person I think who could win is Penelope Cruz, but I also wonder if enough people have seen the movie. And also she hasn't really campaigned, which maybe could work, but it just feels like it doesn't. It's a very low profile.
She was on a cover Hollywood issue of Vanity Fair.
So was Kristen Stewart, though.
She's campaigning. I mean, she hasn't been to like every single award show like Kristen.
That's what I mean. I don't know. So I have Kristen Stewart winning. I just think you're going to get an upset here. I could make a case for all five of them, but I'm going to stick with Kristen Stewart. The fact that she got in, I think in hindsight is going to be like, well, she won. And I think that was what, like, she has enough passion to win. You know, Jessica didn't have to beat her at the SAG Awards, and she won at the Critics' Choice Awards, but we know the Critics' Choice Awards would have voted for Kristen Stewart if they had happened in January instead of March. So I think her big wins do not hold as much strength as they initially appear when you like look at it. So that's my thinking. That's why
it would be amazing if Kristen did win, because we know how much, you know, she was like the film Twitter favorite, and obviously would have won Critics' Choice had it been in January. And, you know, they pride themselves on being the best Oscar predictor. They tweeted something yesterday about Troy's win, and literally in the tweet it said like, we're the best Oscar predictor.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be hilarious if Kristen actually won the Oscar when they didn't give it to her. Yes, she got the nomination based on passion and like the number ones, which is how I think Gaga missed, because I don't think she got enough. Like she probably had Gaga probably appeared on more ballots than Kristen, but not enough number ones. Like she was probably in a lot of like 4s and 5 spots. But it was the actors voting for the nominations. And we've seen like Kristen has worked with a ton of people, obviously, because she's been acting since she was a child. And, you know, she had like Julianne Moore, like hosting screenings for her, you know, they worked together in Still Alice. So I think she always had the peer support, but with like the entire Academy voting, I don't know. But again, it could just be another, like probably will be one of those categories where there's no like outright frontrunner, even though Jessica seems to be one, like she's a soft frontrunner, but it could be so divided that it would not take a lot of votes for one of them to win. So yes, she can win. But I don't know how like the crafts, like all the other branches will respond to her, since they obviously rejected the rest of the movie when this is a movie that we were talking about getting in for crafts when it came out in the fall, you know, like cinematography, score, like production design, all that stuff.
Yeah,
and like they rejected it. And we know about your friend at Telluride, who absolutely despised it. We know about all the walkouts from screenings. So there are members who have not even finished this movie. So are they gonna vote for her, like having not like seen a completed performance, where they probably did finish these other 4 movies?
I think that's true, but I also wonder did they like any of these 4 movies? I don't know how many people liked Eyes of Tammy Faye. It's obviously gotten for makeup. I think that's exemplary makeup work, and she definitely goes through a big transformation. And obviously, it's a great performance from Jessica, but the movie itself is not its strength, and it's like a fine movie. And all these movies are fine. And I wonder, while I agree, I think of the nominees, perhaps the least liked movie would be Spencer, right? Like based on the support or lack thereof of the Academy.
It's only nomination.
The only nomination, and the other movies all have an additional nomination here for the actresses. But I just wonder, I don't think any of these other movies are a slam dunk, I guess is what I think. And but by that sheer virtue of that, I wonder if the fact that Spencer is not liked actually doesn't hurt it as much as it would be in another world. Like if Eyes of Tammy Faye was an unimpeachably great movie, I think we'd have no doubt that Jessica Chastain would win. But the fact that the movie is like, yeah, the movie's fine and she's great. Like, I think that is how everybody reacted to that movie. Movie's fine, she's great. And Spencer, it's probably like, I didn't like the movie, but she's actually really good. Or it's a great performance. You know, like people didn't really slag on her performance. They just kind of like the movie's really boring and
that's true. But also, like, unlike Best Actor, which is like heavily linked to Best Picture, I don't think they really care about the quality of the film in this category.
Right.
You know, and like obviously none of these are Best Picture nominees. And you could say perhaps the closest one to a Best Picture nomination was The Lost Daughter, because it has like the most well-rounded set of nominations and a surprise nomination for Jessie Buckley. But I think the least divisive film here, not even like divisive, but like the most well-rounded or well-liked film is actually Parallel Mothers, if people actually watch it.
Yeah,
because
and
it
I was
has reviews,
right.
And it's, you know, this another collaboration of like this iconic duo of Penelope Cruz and Pedro Almodovar, and it probably would have gone into international feature if Spain had submitted it instead of The Good Boss starring Javier Bardem. So and it got the score nomination, and you know, it has Sony Pictures Classics behind it, and they're really good about campaigning their stuff. Like, they know what to target. They don't care about anything else. They just like focus on like Academy members. So I think it's like maybe what's holding it back is that it's in Spanish, like it's not in English. So you just have to get people to watch it. But yeah, like her, you know, she won 2/3 of the critics trifecta. She won the Robie Cup. She missed all the major precursors, but I think if there's any year for anyone to pull a Marcia Gay Harden in a lead category, it's this year, because none of her competition is super strong. So I think like I think she's still in 5th in the odds, but I think she can win. And I still have Jessica. I don't know if I'll keep her. I think she's like the safe choice, obviously. I think like BAFTA going to Tammy Faye for hair and makeup was good for her, because I think that was also a knock on the movie, or like her chances being like, oh, it has like no international appeal. But you know, they could have also, I guess, just gone with like the heaviest prosthetics as well. So
I mean, that's kind of what I'm banking on. All the stuff you're saying is right. I just am like, I don't know. I think we're gonna have like an upset here in a Marcia Gay Harden style.
This is the acting category, obviously, that's most right for it. And I don't know, like SAG would go 4 for 4 if it's like these, like Jessica winning on top of the other 3. It won 2 for 4 last year. So she could just be another Viola Davis, but with the Critics' Choice win. But and again, as we said, Critics' Choice.
That's why I'm kind of like
phantom Critics' Choice went to Kristen Stewart.
Correct. I feel like we all thought it was not a surprise that Jessica Chastain wanted SAG. I would say we picked Nicole Kidman, I think, and people probably in the comments will be like, "You dumbass, you didn't."
That's a very SAG friendly performance.
But it is very SAG friendly, and she was promoting heavily for SAG, and she's obviously an actor who actors really love, and she's like worked at being an actor for her whole life, and she's like a real actor's actor, Jessica Chastain. And I think that helped her at SAG. I think she won a Critics' Choice because she won SAG. And that's why I'm like, I don't think she's going to win at the Oscars. I think, she could still win at the Oscars, but not because she won at SAG and Critics' Choice, I guess. Like, I think people are connecting the 3 together just because that's what the precursors say. And it seems likely that that'll happen and blah, blah, blah. But that's why I'm going just, I could make the case for Penelope Cruz too. And I was actually trying to figure out if I should pick Penelope Cruz or Kristen Stewart, but I'm just not sure enough people saw the Penelope Cruz performance. And I think just Kristen Stewart has been everywhere. And like, I've seen her doing Jimmy Kimmel interviews. I just feel like she is really gone for it.
Penelope was on Seth Meyers last week. So
no, I know.
I know, but yeah, Kristen has been everywhere.
Oh my gosh.
She presented at PGA.
She presented at PGA. I mean, that was like, she presented Coda Best Picture at PGA. Yeah. There's no reason for her to present that award. The fact that she got up there and did it, I'm like, praise Neon for getting her out there while voting.
The hustle is real. I respect it. Do what you need to do. If you're willing to do it, I would not be willing to do it. I would just be at home.
I got to say, the last time I've seen someone hustle like this was Eddie Redmayne for Theory of Everything.
Eddie Redmayne, yeah.
And he won. He kissed every baby. He did every event. He was everywhere. People liked him a lot, and he won. And
he had the Beatty transformation. He had like the Jessica Chastain role.
I would say though, Jessica Chastain is more like Michael Keaton, because everybody was like, "Oh, Michael Keaton is Michael Keaton. Got to give him an Oscar." You know, we love Michael Keaton. He's a great actor, actor's actor.
Michael Keaton should have an Oscar by now, and it's cruel that he has not been nominated since.
And he lost to Eddie Redmayne, who is a younger performer who did a transformation. And while Jessica did the transformation, I do wonder if we'll have like a kind of like a history repeating itself. I don't know. I don't know. I could see it happening.
I don't feel great about having, I mean, it could just be the SAG-4, which would be boring personally for me. But I don't know if I want to switch, but then I guess I would switch to Penelope.
Right. That's the other option is Penelope. So
I mean, we haven't even talked on Nicole. I feel bad.
Unfortunately, I think Nicole got like blasted out because the transformation went for the transformative performance went to Jessica, and like so did Kristen. Just like no one liked the movie, as it turns out, or not a lot of people.
Just a roller coaster of a season for Nicole Kidman and being the Ricardos. But I also like is because we've talked about before how the base, the voter base that's like into the biopic performances, like Nicole and Jessica, could that cancel each other out?
Well, I think it might, even though Spencer is a biopic performance, it's a different kind of biopic. So
it's a fable.
Yeah. So that's a great way to promote it. Yeah. Sounds good. All right, Joyce, Best Director. This one we could do pretty quick. I think nominees are Kenneth Branagh, Ryusuke Hamaguchi, Paul Thomas Anderson, Jane Campion, Steven Spielberg, and I have Jane Campion winning Best Director.
Is this going to be Power of the Dog's only win? Is the big
one? Well, I have it winning too. I have it winning cinematography and director. And for Best Picture choice, let's do it. The nominees were Belfast, Coda, Don't Look Up, Drive My Car, Dune, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, Nightmare Alley, The Power of the Dog, and West Side Story. And I think, as you might have been able to tell from watching and listening, we both have switched to Coda winning Best Picture.
Yeah. I think Power of the Dog can still like eke it out. Like there is a scenario where it can still win.
So a couple of things here. There was a humongous push for Belfast this week from the awards punditry.
The president of Focus?
President of Focus had a first person account to Scott Feinberg saying that don't sleep on Belfast, and the international voters are really going to come out for it. And it's like a movie that everybody likes. Clayton Davis and Scott, it seemingly both were still, suggesting that it could be a 3-team race here, or 3-horse race between Belfast, Coda, and Power of the Dog. You and I both do not think that is likely to happen, nor even feasible. And I think arguably,
I think most people would agree it's just between the two of them.
And I think Belfast is not even the third movie. I think you could say like West Side Story. Don't Look Up is the third movie. Yeah. So good luck to Belfast though in its future endeavors. So Coda versus Power of the Dog. Yeah, I think it's still a toss-up, and I would not be surprised in the least if Power of the Dog won. In that video, Ryan Castleman, Joyce, is that who it was?
Mm-hmm.
Power of the Dog ended up winning. It was very close. Coda had a good amount of votes, but Power of the Dog had just more number ones from the start, and then it kind of was always high on a ballot. And back before Coda had gotten all this momentum, we always assumed that like Power of the Dog is always going to rate at least in the top like 3 or 4 on everybody's ballot, based on this list of nominees and just in general. And it performed really well in all the crafts categories and across the Academy. And with that, basically, it's going to still be a top 5 performer. And as movies get knocked out, it'll end up being like, it'll end up winning. And I could see that happening. The reason I don't have it winning, at least for me, is the momentum feels undeniable with Coda. And I think people like the idea of it winning. And I think they like to vote for a winner. And so I think those kind of things are a self-fulfilling prophecy. And it's like, I'm voting for Coda. And I think it actually will get a ton of number ones because of that.
Yeah, like I think Power the Dog will need to build up a huge enough lead with number one votes on the first round and just try to hang on in the subsequent rounds. I think it can do it. It can do that because obviously it's the most nominated film. It has like across the board support seemingly, even though it's probably like number two in a bunch of these categories and it's not going to win a lot of them. And like either one of them would defy so many stats if like Power of the Dog doesn't win like a bunch of crafts. Like if it just wins directing and picture, it would just be the third movie to do that, and the first two were in the 30s. Like, and yeah, Coda, just the 3 nominations, like only one without directing or below the line nomination. And they'll go 3 for 3. And usually in like modern Oscar history, the ones with like the clean sweeps are like the epics,
right?
Like Last Emperor and like Lord of the Rings, so yeah, both of them would be breaking a ton of stats, but it's a weird year, and I don't know. I would hate it if like I've had like Power of the Dog this entire time and it ends up winning and I switched. Like I hate like switching to the wrong thing at the last minute, even though I know there's like a valid reason to switch.
I'm surprised. I'm actually surprised you switched because of
You're
that.
surprised I switched?
Yeah, I know why you switched, because obviously I think we've all now kind of come to the realization that Coda is likely winning. And I think
but like the thing is it's like I felt better about my Parasite prediction 2 years ago than I do about Coda, and Parasite won less than Coda has.
That's true, but Parasite felt
was a like a
more of
lightning
a
in a bottle
juggernaut.
phenomenon, like,
and had the directing. You knew, like, it felt like he was going to win director, and all the wins it had were not surprising.
Yeah, and it was more well-rounded in its support, and also like more of like a technical achievement as well.
Yes.
But yeah, I switched to Coda because also the thing is, it's like, yeah, the BAFTA screenplay win, which is like, whoa. WGA win, not surprising because like lack of competition, like Oscar competition, only against Dune among its Oscar competition. But the thing about that is voting for WGA awards was from February 2nd to February 16th. SAG awards, which is like seemingly when the Coda momentum started, was February 27th. So they had already locked in the WGA votes way before the surge started. So I feel like it was like already there, and you could say like, yeah, it was always gonna win WGA because, you know, like they were gonna go for like any of the 3 non-Oscar nominees, and Dune is Dune, you know. So I don't know. And yeah, it's like, so like this weekend, I'll tell you a story real quick. I was with a friend of a friend, and we started talking about Jim Carrey. And she informed us that she did not understand The Truman Show. And we're like, what? And she's like, she did not get it. She didn't understand the ending and like why like he left and like all this stuff. And we're like, whoa. And then we had to explain the movie to her. And this was on Saturday, like hours before PGA, like actually like 12 hours, because PGA announced at like 2 a.m. and she was saying like she just like she didn't get it, she didn't like the movie, and like she loves like his comedies, right? And like she only saw that movie because she was like expecting another type of comedy, like Liar Liar or whatever. And it just like reminded me of like the discourse now, especially post PGA, of between like Power of the Dog stands and like Coda stands, because like Coda is like the emotional movie, right? And it's pretty like by the book, and it tells you exactly what it is, and it's like comfort food and like handholds you, like it's you know, it hits like all the beats it's supposed to. That's not a knock on it. I think, you know, like 95% of movies are predictable. Like Marvel movies are predictable. I love them. I love rom-coms, but you know what's going to happen.
Right.
I knew what was going to happen to Marry Me. I watched it, enjoyed it. I knew what was going to happen in Coda, and it executed it well. But I think people like that predictability, and it's comforting. Like they know exactly when to laugh and cry. And like Jim Carrey comedies are like that. And like Power of the Dog, I don't even think Truman Show is like complicated, and Power of the Dog is, I guess, it's more cerebral. I don't think it's super challenging, but you know, there's more subtext, more metaphors. It makes you think. It doesn't spell things out for you, and it's more cagey and like circumspect in its intentions. So you have to pay attention, and it doesn't handhold you completely, even though I think she does a good job of like laying clues like throughout the movie. But I think like that's like the disconnect between those two, right? Like one makes you feel and the other makes you think. Not to say like they can't do both, but like their primary goals are different.
Right.
So yeah, I guess yeah. So Power the Dog is the Truman Show, and
I
Coda
think you're
is
right,
Ace
and
Ventura.
I think if we go back and look at the movies that have won Best Picture, if you go through like cerebral art house, whatever you want to call it, movies versus like the movies that make you feel, like Power of the Dog is much more like Aroma or like A Social Network or like a, you know, I don't even know any of these other ones like that have won Shakespeare and like Saving Private Ryan. You could keep going on and on. There's a
But the
lot
thing is,
of
like, I don't think like the thing about like Power of the Dog, like people call it coal. I'm like, I don't think it's like coal. Like there is emotion in it, but like it doesn't. That's not the first emotion you feel, or
right. Like Saving
that's not
Private
your first
Ryan
response.
is
Yeah,
an emotional movie, but it's
yeah,
not Shakespeare in Love. You're not walking out of
yeah.
Saving Private Ryan being like, oh, I'm like, it's Shakespeare in Love gives you a different emotional reaction. It's going for something different. And I think Coda versus Power of the Dog is a similar thing. And I do wonder, the two things I've been thinking of also is A, and I think I've said this just in general, and even though Coda literally premiered at Sundance in 21 and came out in August of 21, and now we are in March of 22. Just
Wow, that took you a while.
just where are we? And it's been around for 15 months. I do think a lot of people had not seen it before last month, you know, before February, before the Oscar nominations. And I think a lot of people are catching up, and it's such an easy emotional win. You watch the movie, you're laughing and crying, and you're going to end and be like, that was a great movie. And the recency bias of that feeling is what's going to push it over the top. And Power of the Dog, people are not going back to watch again or haven't watched it in a few months. And even if they loved it, they're probably like, oh man, Coda left me feeling so great. And Power of the Dog was pretty big a bummer. So I think that's part of it. And then the other thing is, ironically, obviously, then, so not only will it set all the, no matter what wins, we're going to have like a bunch of crazy Oscar records fall. It'll be the first time, if either one wins, it'll be the first time two movies directed by a woman have won Best Picture, right? Back to back years. And then also, it'll be the first time a streaming service has won Best Picture, which maybe doesn't mean anything anymore, whatever. We all expected Netflix to get that. It's just ironic to me that all the Netflix movies that they have rolled out for awards are so. I agree that we could watch movies at home and like you watch all your favorite movies at home and it's fine. And like that's how you watch like The Godfather and Jaws and all these different movies that I like love that are like my favorite movies ever. I watch them all on like a VHS tape or on TV. And Power of the Dog is fine to work at home. But I do think it's a movie like Roma, like The Irishman, that is best suited for like sitting in a dark theater and like not being distracted. And Coda is a movie you can put on and it doesn't demand as much from the audience at home.
Right. Yeah. It's like Ace Ventura.
And I do think that that really plays a part. And while you could see any movie at home and like it's still a great movie, I do think the way where you're so much more distracted now plays a part in it. So it's like, yeah, like when I was watching The Godfather or Jaws on like my 13-inch TV, like I wasn't getting the theatrical experience on my like black and white Magnavox or whatever it was, like very junky Magnavox TV. But like it's still, I had nothing else really to do. So of course I was watching. Now it's like, oh, you're so distracted and we have no attention span for anything. All our minds are shot and social media has destroyed the world. So of course, I think a movie like Power of the Dog that demands more from an audience is at home is maybe not playing as well as it could have 10 years ago even. So I do wonder if that ended up like playing a factor. And yeah, I don't know. I think Coda is going to win. If Power of the Dog wins though, I would not be surprised at all. I do think it has like a lot of strong support. Like we said, it had the most nominations, but I don't know. I think Coda is going to win. That's basically it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's yeah, like Coda just like it tells you exactly what it is. And you know, I think like the, you know, now like everyone's like dragging it because it's like, oh, it's like a TV movie or whatever. or like a Hallmark movie. And I think even like they all over there that like Team Coda would agree it's not as cinematically rich as some, or like, you know, technically, or has like the same like technical merits as Power of the Dog. I think everyone agrees about that, right? But yeah, it makes you feel, and it tells you, like you said, like, you know, you can be distracted while watching Coda and you still be fine.
Right.
I don't, you can't really be distracted like by when you watch like Power of the Dog. Like it challenges people's patience.
Yes, and I think that's a problem because people don't want to have their patience challenged, and especially
They don't want, like, so one of my biggest pet peeves is when I watch movies or like TV shows with other people and then something happens and then they're like, oh my God, why did he do that? And I'm just like, shut the fuck up. Like, you might find out in 2 minutes. Like,
or you missed it because you weren't paying attention.
yeah,
Like
exactly. Like now you
Power
have
of
your
the Dog has a
phone.
lot of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
It's like,
Like
why
I
did
think
that
people
happen?
like to be told exactly what is happening, and Power of the Dog does not do that. You have to wait for it. And uh it could still win, but this could just be like another like King's Speech and Social Network scenario, even though the demographic of the Academy is so different now. But as we've seen, I don't think the Coda was underseen, because I don't think you could be underseen and have Troy Kotzer get in everywhere, someone who a complete unknown.
Right.
Like, it was seen enough.
That's the argument, I guess, but I also wonder, again, I guess we talked about that category was such a mess going into it, and I did wonder whether the people who saw the limited amount of people who saw Coda that helped it get #1 votes for Best Picture nomination, basically to get it in, also probably were weighing on Troy, and enough more so than like the Jared Leto's and Ben Affleck's and everybody else that we were trying, and not enough people respected Mike Feist, and so that was why we ended up, you know what I mean? Like, I do think that maybe I thought that, and you're right. Like, I think it would have helped, but I do wonder if like he had enough passion from the fans of Coda, basically, and like even if not enough people saw it, I don't know. I guess we'll never know.
I think it was. I don't think it's underseen like the way Parallel Mothers is underseen, because that was
No.
Like, it's been in existence for over a year.
Right.
It came out in the summer. They've been promoting it heavily since then. Like, I don't think like they picked it up definitely since SAG, just like Kristen Stewart, just everywhere. But like, it was always like Marlee Matlin was the face of that movie, like as part of the promo, you know, like
Right.
And I would buy her more as a name check if she was the one like getting in and not Troy. Like, I think it was seen, but it's definitely being consumed more like post SAG.
Right.
And you know, we've heard, you know, it made Javier Bardem cry, it made Denis Villeneuve cry,
Bobby Cannavale.
Yeah.
Everybody.
So,
and I think that's going to be it. And I do think, you know, and I guess there's part of you is like, if you're still on Power of the Dog, let's say you're like, well, you know, you guys are saying like only the emotional movie wins, but like Moonlight won and Nomadland won and all these things. And I would definitely put Power of the Dog in the same class as those movies, but I actually think there's more emotion in both of those movies than there is in Power of the Dog.
Yeah. Even though it's like Nomadland is bleak, but you are more like immediately empathetic towards her situation.
And there's more of a celebration of life in Nomadland than there is in Power of the Dog. And Moonlight obviously has an incredible emotional through line through it as well. So while I think the filmmaking of Power of the Dog is in league with those other movies, I think the emotion that the rooting factor and the emotion that you get from watching Power of the Dog is not comparable to Moonlight and Nomadland, and is maybe even more along the lines of Aroma. And that's where we're ending up where we are. So
yeah. And I think this is also like a perfect situation, just the way everything fell for Coda to capitalize on. Like, I don't think Coda would have beaten Nomadland last year. It would not have been Parasite 2 years ago.
No.
Like this race, it was so chaotic this year, and like everyone was kind of looking for a rival to Power of the Dog, and everyone tried to make Belfast happen.
Yeah, it didn't happen.
And it hasn't performed as a number 2. And Coda has emerged as the number 2, like probable winner now. Like all the crowd pleasing support that everyone said like Belfast would have, it's like migrated to Coda. And yeah, like more people are watching it now. And yeah, Power of the Dog is not as emotional as Nomadland. Like the situation was just perfect for Coda. It has a very charming cast. And you know, it's about it makes you feel important when you're voting for it as well.
And last thing on this, and then we'll wrap up here and talk about the show in general and our expectations. I would say the Apple campaign has been incredible to watch. They got the cast of Coda at the White House yesterday.
Right under the wire.
Right under the wire, right as voting was coming to an end. There's Marley Matlin tweeting from the lawn of the White House. I mean, like that is incredible.
Are the Bidens Academy members?
I don't know, but I mean, incredible stuff. I just was like, they are really going for it. This is, it just is like,
and
oh man.
It's also funny to think of like, I mean, obviously Coda was pre-made, went to Sundance. So yeah, technically an indie, small film, but it's backed by the biggest tech corporation in the world.
Yeah, with unlimited funds.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Like people kind of couch this as like, oh, like it's the underdog, the little movie that could, like, sure, because it's a smaller scale movie with 3 nominations, but it has freaking Apple behind it. Like,
yeah, pretty remarkable. So Joyce, that's it. That's our picks. So we differ on a lot of spots. I could really see me flopping, and because I went off the beaten path on many, but I guess we'll see.
I know. I don't know. Are you going to change anything? Because it's Wednesday. Are you going to change anything?
I'm not. I'm just going to roll with this, what we talked about here, and just like go down with the ship. Because I was like, I feel like this is a year where, with maybe like 1 or 2 exceptions, almost every pundit and expert will have the same picks.
Yeah,
and,
like Dune
like Dune across the board, and like the 4 actors that are going to win, and obviously Coda and Jane splitting picture and director. But I'm just like, I don't know. I think there's room for this could be a surprise.
I know. It's just hard to figure out where
the surprise
to go your own way. And yeah, like I might still go back to Power of the Dog. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't want to take too many chances. I don't know. I might go to Penelope.
I mean, I'm
still mad at myself for not going to Anthony Hopkins last year because I was like really feeling it, and I didn't because I flipped a coin. So my coin toss betrayed me, because then I like went to Carey Mulligan because of the result instead and kept Chadwick Boseman. But maybe I'll flip a coin to see if I switch to Penelope.
I mean, I could see Penelope getting it, so
that'll be awesome. And then it'll just be another, like stat blown forever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Joyce, so the show, a couple of things here before we wrap up. The great Rachel Zegler nightmare of 2022 ended this week.
Like a non-controversy?
She on Sunday, she tweeted, or she was in an Instagram comment,
which is like the savvy way to go.
She just said LOL, or basically LOL, I'm not going. I didn't get invited. I'm watching it from my boyfriend's couch in sweatpants.
No, she's wearing his flannel.
And immediately up in arms, the world went on social media. A lazy Sunday, not much going on. Really took up in arms. How did they not invite Rachel Zegler to the Oscars? Great question, because what are they doing? But obviously, I think there was a little more stuff at play because she's in the middle of shooting a Disney film, Snow White.
Yeah, a lot of information that people did not know / are not aware of, or just how ticketing works at award shows.
The studios get the tickets, right, Joyce? And then they give them out to their people.
Yeah, so the show, there's a lot of reasons to dunk on the Oscars this year and the producers. This is actually not one of them, even though they're totally getting the blame right now. Like the Oscar show producers itself, they're only responsible for inviting presenters.
Right.
So you could say they should have asked her to be a presenter. That's a whole separate issue. But if you just want an invite to sit in the audience as she wanted, like it seems like that's from the studio, Disney, because the Oscars allocate a certain number of tickets to the studios, and then the studios distributes them to whoever they choose, and also limited capacity this year because of COVID.
Right.
But so, I do think Disney should have actually given her a ticket from the beginning, because even though like she is in the middle of production for Snow White, she is the lead of West Side Story, first movie, breakout role, and they made both movies. They're making Snow White, so it's not even like coordinating with another studio. Like they could have just blocked out this weekend for her to make the trip. And I understand, like they made it. It seems like they just made a business decision, even though they can totally afford to eat the costs of the travel and COVID protocols. They made this business decision, and
that's right.
Yeah,
and that's what it seems.
And also kind of reflective of how shoddy the campaign for West Side Story has been. This is just kind of like the cherry on top.
Yeah, pretty much. So now she ended up getting invited as a presenter, even though it hasn't been officially announced, I guess. So like maybe they could still do it because they're probably working out the protocols and like when they want her to come. We had talked about this 2 weeks ago, maybe. Clearly she was going to be a presenter because they have Naomi Scott, who was Princess Jasmine in Aladdin. They have Halle Bailey, who is coming to play Ariel in Little Mermaid, and they have Lily James, who played Cinderella in Cinderella, all as presenters. They're clearly going to do like a Disney princess thing.
You were like heavily on like they're going to announce Rachel next in the next batch, and it was instead Tony Hawk and Kelly Slater.
And it was so it's funny, they announced she started her campaign before they announced Tony Hawk and Kelly Slater and Shaun White, great Hollywood luminaries as they are. And anyway, now she's going to be a presenter. Of course she is. She's a Disney princess. They're going to do a Disney princess thing. It's so obvious. Like, why wouldn't they do that?
Was this whole thing just to drum up like buzz around this whole thing?
No, because they still haven't said they're doing like a Disney princess reunion.
No, but just like to get more like discourse about the show, even though it's like sort of negative discourse. But,
I mean, any press is bad. Any press is good press.
It's good press. It doesn't matter.
I don't think so. I think she really. I think she was.
I think she wants to go, and she should go.
She should go, and she should say it, and she did, and now she's going, and so good for her. And like the Oscars really aren't at fault here. It's mostly ABC and Disney.
And I think with Disney, it's funny because like obviously now it's still not Disney giving her the ticket. It's the Oscars asking her to present, right?
The other thing is, I think it's just another indication that while I'll, to be good faith, read on this and say like, oh, the Academy is trying to figure out how to like navigate a new social media forward world and like trying to reach young voters. And like similarly with the Oscars hashtag fan favorite and cheer moment, they had the intentions of being like, what do people like? Social media? Yeah, let people vote, not realizing that when they do a hashtag campaign, they will get inundated by fan groups who are mobilized to get what they want.
And Cinderella's going to win, not Spider-Man.
So while they thought, oh, people love Spider-Man and it's very popular and on social media it'll do well, obviously they almost had Johnny Depp movie that no one's heard of win, or a Zack Snyder movie that was on Netflix that's like a gruesome R-rated zombie movie, or Cinderella. Those are like the three biggest competitors because of the social media strength of those fans, the Camila Cabello, Zack Snyder, and Johnny Depp. And so this similarly felt like that, where it's like, we don't need to invite Rachel. She'll be fine. And she's like got a humongous online presence and was able to mobilize an entire news cycle just by writing an Instagram comment, which maybe they would have thought of.
Blame if like, I mean, it's totally fine for them not asking her to be a presenter because obviously they have to prioritize Tony Hawk and DJ Khaled. So, and I don't blame them if they assumed that like Disney would be giving one of their tickets to her.
Right. So that was one. And then last night, Joyce, we got the final confirmation that 4 of the 5 song nominees will perform. Beyonce.
Exactly at 8 p.m. Eastern on the dot when voting closed, they tweeted it.
So Beyonce, I wonder if they changed this. I'm just thought of this. I wonder if they changed that. Well, no, it doesn't matter. I was going to say, I wonder if they changed it because I know Phil Lord and Chris Miller were pretty vocal about like it not being super fair that the Oscars are going to have like a "we don't talk about Bruno" moments on the show, and like we're promoting that during voting, which is like another sign of like, hey, vote for Encanto, basically. Which is like I could see that what their point was, but
I think it was just trying to lock down Beyonce.
So they got Beyonce probably to open the show. It seems like maybe from Compton on a tennis court. We have Billie Eilish and her brother Phineas, and the Dos Orguitas and the Diane Warren song. All 4 of those will perform, and not Van Morrison for Down to Joy Joyce, which is very funny because Van Morrison has obviously been very vocal about his being not the most pro-vaccine forward performer. And the Oscars were kind of castigated. This is like 4 or 5 controversies ago when they were like, oh, you don't have to be vaccinated to show up, right? Or whatever it was. No
proof of vaccination.
There's no proof of vaccination.
Yeah. Like I think they need to produce like 2 negative tests. Yeah. Correct.
So we were like, oh, that's a good opening for them to be able to have Van Morrison play. And then after all that, he's still not playing. Apparently he's on tour, they said. So he can't come and play. So we won't hear it. This Belfast song that many people have never heard before and doesn't exist will still not be performed on the Oscars.
Is it online at all? Because we talked about this like way back when.
I'm Googling.
Is there a digital footprint of the song online?
Doesn't seem like there's an official.
Like there's no lyric video. Is it on Spotify?
Let me look. I'm Googling.
Because like the Academy voters, they can listen to the songs in the portal before they vote. But can the public who has
It's actually not
seen
even on Spotify.
Yeah.
That was another reason for
It's
Dos
gonna be a lost
Orquitas.
song.
It's the only song that actually is in the movie. Dos Orquitas. So if they went to the portal and listened, hopefully they did, then they would say like, oh look, it's part of the movie, not just like a credits thing. Anyway.
It literally opens the movie.
No, I'm saying Dos Orquitas. Down to Joy opens the movie. I know.
Yeah, Down to Joy opens the movie. Yeah.
So yeah, those are the two big show things. Joyce, anything else? Like I said, I've read interviews with Amy Schumer and Wanda Sykes and Regina Hall. Seems like they're all just hoping for the best.
Like it's a job for them. Amy Schumer really wanted to do a Zelensky bit on the show.
Yeah, she asked to have Zelensky on the show because he's an actor, obviously, and also the president of Ukraine in the middle of this war. And apparently that did not come to fruition, though I can't blame the producers. She kind of threw Will Packer under the bus in that interview, I thought, but can't really blame. She's like, I'm not producing it, but I can't blame him for not being able to swing that. I don't know.
Yeah.
So we'll see. They have the other, like we kind of mentioned, the other like people really mock the presenters that were announced this week: DJ Khaled, Tony Hawk, Kelly Slater, and Shaun White. Definitely had a "How do you do, fellow kids" vibe with the with the skateboard.
Trying to appeal to me in 2002, I guess.
I want to say like I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, even though maybe it doesn't deserve it, to see what they have planned.
I feel like the three of them, like Tony, Shaun, and Kelly, will probably do some like sports movie montage.
Yeah, and I do think
they're making room for montages.
And I really think they're going to keep time to 3 hours. Every interview I read, Regina Hall even was like, "Yeah, it's got to be 3 hours." I think they have that mandate, and maybe they could go over like a little bit, but I think the show is going to be as tight as it's ever been. I think it'll be over by like 11:05.
I just love this concept that they think like people don't watch past 3 hours. Like people like us will, because we'll just watch the end of the show. But also like your most highly viewed ceremonies from the 90s went way past 3 hours.
Right.
So people are still watching it. Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes.
You know what presenter they have not announced yet? Frances McDormand.
No.
She's not coming. Who's going to do Best Actor? I mean, they could still announce her. They're probably still trying to work on her. But if she does not come,
I mean, who else is being? Who are the presenters? Right now, I'm googling. This is scintillating stuff. You hear the typing. Let's see. So they have the recent ones were Jennifer Garner, right? Stephanie Beatrix, Elliot Page. I could see actually announcing Best Actor. That could be kind of a good moment. They have the Pulp Fiction reunion. I don't even know. I mean,
who's gonna do Best Actor?
Based on this list, I mean, Lady Gaga, Kevin Costner. I actually think that wonder if they'll do Kevin Costner for Best Director. Wouldn't that be a trip?
Lupita
Nyong'o, I think, could do Best Actor.
Yeah, I don't like who.
It's amazing that Anthony Hopkins is somehow on this list and Fran McDormand is not. But the other option would be like Bill Murray for Best Actor.
Because he's been nominated for and didn't win.
I mean, maybe, I don't know. Like,
but I can see like her and Gaga doing Song because they've won it.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure they'll do another round of presenters probably today or tomorrow.
Like one final one. No, a final one with Rachel Zegler on it.
I mean, they better do a final one with Rachel Zegler.
I also think like she wasn't on that one because like they're still trying to coordinate the Snow White.
That seems very likely.
Production, because also last week the Snow White sets caught on fire.
Correct. So going great out there.
Yeah.
Joyce, so we'll be on. I think so. We're going to be on live somehow after the show at 11:15 Eastern.
Exactly 3 hours.
Exactly 3 hours after it starts, and then I assume we'll probably do another one of these, wrapping it up on Monday morning, maybe. What do you think?
Monday morning. Should we do back to back one Sunday? That'll be.
I mean, fun. I guess maybe we'll see. Brew a pot of coffee. We'll do it. All right. This has been fun, Joyce. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.